Ever heard of a killer? I drop bombs like Hiroshima.
So I said, look at LeakYou video. What the fuck is LeakYou? Is it like a site? What's LeakYou? LeakYou. Is it a YouTube channel? Oh shit. Oh, I bet. Here we go.
Please hit the like. Thank you.
One, two, three, four.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Happy Wednesday to you. Man, it's been a minute. It's been a while. It kind of makes me think of that song, right? You all, I have a crazy story to bring to you today that I want to talk to you guys about. And then after I do this video, I'm going to be on Interloper Nation because me and the Interloper Nation family, we get it. I'm going to be talking about another child abuser, a woman here on YouTube, who's getting dragged right now by her so-called king. And I think it's interesting. So I will be talking about it on ILN2. So prepare for that tonight because I just kind of feel like being on live with you guys. Let me give a special shout out to King of Commentary 2, and his main channel, King of Commentary. And I don't, let me see. Let me bring him up. Let me bring up the YouTube here because I don't think he's ever been up under this channel. I know he has been up under the ILN, but I want to go ahead and throw a dress, not literally. I want to throw a suit on him really quick, just out of respect. Always enjoy his content over there, along with the others that I peruse and find on YouTube. But let me get on into the story, and then before I leave the live, I will drop the link to where I'm going to go over on ILN2 because I took ILN, Interloper Nation, the main channel, down for a reason. You know, I've had a couple false ass copyright strikes come through from that Solid Sunny chick over there, Miss Nubs, you know. And I'm not making fun of her. It's just, you know, she hasn't had very kind things to say about me. She windmills for a West Bank twerking ass swamp rat on YouTube, a guy that says some of the most heinous things about children. And the lady I'm going to be talking about after this live on Interloper Nation 2 is also hooked up with the West Bank's twerking ass swamp rat over there. Moderates for him, and you know, she got mixed up with him out of hate for me and thought it was going to make me feel some kind of way. And that's what these people do on YouTube, right? They play these little stupid games. So anyway, I digress on that because I want to get to the reason why I'm here. Shout out to those of you on Twitter. Shout out to those of you on Facebook and Rumble as well. This podcast, starting from this moment, will be uploaded to Spotify and my other official podcast platforms. I have to edit every video that I upload to Spotify, so I'll be cutting out the beginning of this because nothing about YouTube banter ever gets put on my official podcast platform. You'll never ever see any of that up there. But I want to talk about Brandon Keith Mitchell. Mr. Brandon Keith Mitchell, please come to the front of the church house. Pretty please. Come on down to the front. Boy, do I got a weird ass fucking case for you. And you all, I don't know what can even legally be done about this, but let me tell you, there is a sex offender, okay, in Pennsylvania named Brandon Keith Mitchell. He is gotten in trouble for looking at nasty pictures. Okay, I'll go into his charges here in just a bit, but he's a convicted sex offender. Okay, married to a man who has now adopted a little boy and brought this child home. Now, keep in mind, he didn't adopt. Let me say that properly. He didn't adopt because no adoption agency should be giving children to sex offenders. But what he did do is he found some dumbass woman to be a surrogate for him and his husband. And in the law, in Pennsylvania, the law says that you can't stop a sex offender from being a parent to their own children. So this man has utilized this legal loophole to bring home a boy that everybody in the world is absolutely concerned for, scared. Let me tell you a little bit more of the story, and then I'm going to show you some photos. Okay? Megan's Law, we need Megan's Law to do a piece on this, the website. But this man who's been revealed to be a convicted child sex offender is causing outrage in Pennsylvania, in the United States, and beyond because he managed to get a little boy into his home, and there was absolutely nothing that the law could do to block him from bringing this child into his family under Pennsylvania law. Not a thing. But now prosecutors are saying that the best solution to this situation is changing the law through legislator. And we know how long it takes to legislate a law. It could be years before a law is put in place. And how many other sex offenders will pay a surrogate $5,000 to carry a baby for 9 months? I mean, there are some women out there who will carry a child for as little as $5,000. Not a lot of money to me, but there are some that think it's a whole lot of money. I blame the woman that carried the child for 9 months and then handed the child over to him as well. What are you thinking? I mean, yeah, I'll let you put a baby in me and I'll carry it as a surrogate. Sure. Even though you're a sex offender and everything. Like, what? Do you have a heart, woman? But here's the deal. This Brandon Keith Mitchell individual, it's all viral, okay? He went viral earlier this month over videos that he's been sharing on social media showing him and his husband kissing on this little baby boy and blowing out a candle every month through the child's first year of life. This couple has been ripped by right-wing activists. And then folks discovered that Brandon Keith Mitchell, one half of this duo, is an actual registered sex offender. He was convicted of child sex abuse and possession of child pornography back in 2016, 9 years ago. Can we just take a moment to just ponder that for a second? Like, what's up, Gemini? Good to see you. Can we just take a moment and just, can we just think about that for a second? This man was convicted of child sex abuse and possession of child pornography, and just brought a little boy into his life a year ago. And then check this out. Brandon Keith Mitchell and his corny-ass husband even crowdsourced money a couple years ago to help them pay for this surrogacy. They found a surrogate who they say gave birth to their baby boy, and they've since been documenting their surrogacy journey. But folks on the internet are voicing outrage and concern, including myself, and essentially there's absolutely nothing that expressly prohibits a registered sex offender from becoming a parent through surrogacy under Pennsylvania law. This is according to Tim Barker, the district attorney for York County, Pennsylvania. He actually had a conversation with several news organizations, and he said, quote, "I thoroughly appreciate the concerned and outraged emotions expressed by many that a loophole exists in the law to allow a registered sex offender to become a parent through surrogacy without the same intense scrutiny, accountability, and judicial oversight mandated for the adoption process," end quote. Now, according to records, all right, Brandon Keith Mitchell lives in York County, and the district attorney did confirm that he completed his probation/parole supervision in 2021. And it is not alleged that he has violated any conditions regarding his sex offender registration, and there have not been any criminal charges or additional allegations against him, but still, the DA says the controversy shows that this is an issue ripe for review and remedy by the Pennsylvania legislator. Here's my thing. How long will it take anything to happen? And number two, think about how difficult it is to try to put a law in to control surrogacy. People actually have the right to have anybody carry a child for them on their behalf. You could get your next door neighbor, will you carry a child for me? Me and my husband, we want a child so bad, and we'll pay for the procedures, and we'll even give you a little money, for all of your considerable troubles. And the government never even has to know. And the problem I have is more government red tape being thrown into our lives, hamstringing us, and putting us in handcuffs behind our backs. It's these people like this Brandon Keith Mitchell who makes it hard for every fucking body else, because he knows he's a registered sex offender, a Chester child molester, but yet he feels he's entitled to surrogate a child. And then has the nerve to document his surrogacy journey. No, listen. Everything is not okay to put on the internet. Everything is not okay to watch. Every train wreck that these crazy people put up out here is not good TV to watch. Frankly, I don't want to watch this man document his surrogacy journey with this poor child, because every time I look at this child, I'm going to think to myself, that child is in danger. You can't tell me that child is in danger. You can't cure a sex offender. It's like a a demon sticks to those types of people. We don't know how likely he is to reoffend. Now, the district attorney also added, quote, I have full confidence that our York County state senators and representatives will vigorously pursue any constitutionally permissible legislative actions that serve to protect children from harm and enthusiastically stand ready to assist our York County delegation at their request on this issue. I'm sorry, turn that off. Now, Brandon Mitchell has an attorney, Mr. Peter Kratza. I guess everybody deserves to have an attorney. Oh, the baby's going to continue to stay with him. Unless CPS or the authorities find some sort of abuse happening in Brandon Keith Mitchell's home, that child will continue to live with him and his husband, and they will continue to document the surrogacy journey that they've had. He absolutely knew what he was doing, Kings of Commentary. He knew what he was doing. And most of the time, I root people on that find loopholes because there's so much red tape. But in this situation, there's no rooting this individual on. Now, his attorney, this guy, Peter Kratza, and everybody does deserve an attorney, okay, to represent them. He says, quote, Brandon's matter in Chester County in Pennsylvania. There's actually a county called Chester. It involved allegations in 2013 of inappropriate electronic communications with a minor aged 16 to 18 years old. There was no allegation of physical contact. Brandon immediately accepted responsibility for his conduct, served his sentence without incident, and engaged in extensive counseling. Listen, even Ted Bundy went to jail before he got caught for murdering over 50 women. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole lot of, look how Jeffrey Dahmer, the police right up in his face, and he managed to convince the police that this man he's my boyfriend and we're just having a fight. Man, people are very good at deceiving others. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, I don't give a fuck about his lawyer's statement. It doesn't mean shit to me, and it doesn't change the way that I feel. Now, the lawyer continues to say, quote, Brandon did nothing illegal or unethical in becoming a surrogate parent. What about fucking morally wrong? Like, does that count? He was completely transparent. Perhaps the attention of those decrying his parenthood would be more appropriately directed towards those who are not held accountable for child abuse, are not punished, and make no efforts at rehabilitation, end quote. Now, fuck you, Peter Kratza. We're talking about the safety of a child in the hopes that child abuse never, ever finds the child. Okay? Fuck you. We're not trying to divert and look away at nothing else but Mr. Brandon Keith Mitchell and the fact that he used a legal loophole to essentially bring a child into his home, and he is a convicted child sex offender. Now, regardless of what you say, Mr. Peter Kratza, in regards to whatever allegations, he was absolutely convicted of child sexual abuse and possession of child pornography. Okay? So, miss me with all the legal, lingo and all of that type of thing. That part, just because he has been charged since the first, Doesn't mean he hasn't offended. It just means he hasn't been caught again yet. And I agree. What type of female is this? Apparently, whoever the surrogate woman is, and they'll probably never release her name because people probably want her head on a spit. She obviously does not care about children and just wants the money. Okay, whatever money he managed to give to her. I mean, I'm scared. Is the child half hers? Because regardless of what some of y'all may think out there, two men can't have a kid. Okay, it takes a woman and a man to have a baby. Female and male genetics must, merge in order for a child to be born. Two physical men cannot have a child. So who's the mother? Is the surrogate the mother? Because if the surrogate is the mother, then you mean to tell me that you handed your child off to a fucking sex offender? Bitch. Take a moment and think about that shit. God damn. The legal way, folks. The legal way. She handed her kid off to a fucking sex offender legally. And I mean, no moral compass whatsoever in these people. What kind of mother? What kind of mother would do something like that? Now, here's the question. Did she know he was a sex offender before she agreed to the surrogacy? Now, if she didn't know and agreed to the surrogacy and she's only now finding out, then listen, I'll back off a little bit only if she does some sort of legal maneuver and moves to get that child into her custody. But I don't even know if she can legally do that. Usually a surrogate ain't trying to be, full-on mother. They just, like Gemini says, they just want to give birth to the baby, get the money, and move on about their business. But if she did not know that Brandon Keith Mitchell was a sex offender and she is willingly given her child, if it's her DNA, her blood child, because again, Brandon and his husband couldn't have did that. Brandon would have needed a woman's DNA in order for that baby to be here today. So who's the mammy? If the mammy willingly gave this baby to him, knowing he's a sex offender, that's one thing. But not knowing and being a surrogate for someone that's a sex offender, that's another thing. And listen, we could say you're ignorant for not checking, but listen, it just ain't enough for me to chop her up to pieces, because people make fucking mistakes, right? But to me, giving your child willingly to a sex offender is no fucking mistake. You're making a conscious decision to do that. See, that's the thing about surrogacy. They're not going through no adoption agency, so there's no background checks being run. The only way any of that's going to happen is if the surrogate does it. The surrogate would have needed to run any appropriate background checks. And most of the time, it'd be the ones that want the baby running the background checks on the surrogates, not the other way around. But I really, really, really think, I mean, I want to know who's the mammy? Who is the mother of this child? Who is the mother of this child? Now, can I show y'all a photo of Brandon Keith Mitchell? Because as far as I'm concerned, a sex offender, they have to be, listen, you have to, register You don't have no privacy as a sex offender, okay? You just don't. But this is Mr. Brandon Keith Mitchell. He looks like your standard corporate type, don't he? Little sores all around his mouth and shit. Going bald. And he's a fucking pedophile. These are the multiple mugshots of his, right? This is mugshot number 2. Mugshot number 3. This time with glasses. Peep game if this guy lives in your neighborhood. I mean, I would expect parents that give a fuck in York County to be sitting in front of his fucking house with some signs right now. Mugshot number 4. Mugshot number 5. And number 6, this is probably a close-up of 5. You know, usually what happens when you're registered as a sex offender, you have to take an updated photo once a year in some states, in most states, because people's looks change, man. Look, got another one. There's another one. Big fat ass pedophile. Big old fatty. Fat boy. That's Brandon Keith Mitchell. There is not enough people even talking about this. The only people I've seen even talk about this, man, shout out to TMZ. Now, listen, it gets weirder. I want to give a shout out to Undaunted Life as well out on IG, because I'm going to show you a video. Jesus, this is so difficult. Oh my God. By the way, Brandon Keith Mitchell is a Tier 1 registered sex offender. But can I just say, I want to read Undaunted Life's post here. I want to show you, and I want to read this post because, you know, I'm just going to read it. I'm not saying I feel this way. I just want to read the post. Is that okay with y'all? So, quote, a gay couple in Pennsylvania was just allowed to adopt a baby boy. One of the sodomites, and I think he says that because people that have sex in the anus, whatever, is named Brandon Keith Riley Mitchell. He is a Tier 1 registered sex offender, and his sex crime was against a child. So here are a bunch of things you're not allowed to think and could never say out loud. 1, anyone convicted of a sex crime against a child should be castrated and then put to death. 2, for a myriad of reasons, gay men should not be allowed to adopt children, whether via surrogacy or not. I don't agree with that. 3, the Pennsylvania officials that allowed this to happen should be put in prison. 4, gay men sure do seem to have a preference for adopting boys instead of girls. Why? Could it be because they're sexually attracted to males and not females? Are we just supposed to ignore this? I don't agree with that, but I also haven't done the research to justify that statement. So I just want to be clear. But no, I don't think we should ignore it. I mean, it wouldn't matter if this was 2 men, 2 women, or a man and a woman. I mean, a woman who's, you know, put on the sex offender registry could have somebody have a surrogate for them. And how many other states is this also allowed? 5, there has to be a way to get this baby removed from this couple. If funds need to be gathered, make it happen. I bet Chip Gaines and Joanna Gaines have already contacted this couple to feature them on an upcoming episode of one of their Magnolia Network shows, Undaunted Life, or one of their Magnolia Network shows. The comments are brutal. I mean, come on. Primary offense, sexual abuse of children, man. Black and white. And what kind of responsible man over here? Brandon Keith Mitchell's husband with the reindeer things on. What kind of responsible husband says, yeah, I'm going to commit to having a baby with a sex offender for the rest of my life? I mean, come on. Ugh. Oof, oof, oof. Yeah, I love you, Brandon, so much. I know you're a sex offender, but I just love you so much. There was nobody else in the world that I could have married and had a child with, gay or not. But it had to be Brandon Keith Mitchell, huh? It just had to be him. The videos are creepy to me. But that's probably because of the knowledge that I'm holding in my head about Mr. Brandon Keith Mitchell, who apparently is the paternal father of this young boy. I hope and I pray that 20 years from now, this boy isn't sitting on 2020 or Dateline MSNBC telling his story about how a sex offender surrogated him. And look how he's pushing him away in this video. But you know how he was, birth was given to him via a surrogate, and that he was somehow violated in his childhood. I hope and pray that does not happen to this young child, man. The type of stuff that these people do out here. I mean, really, again, we also need to call in not only the actions of Brandon Keith Mitchell, who decided to go through with this, but the dude he married to, okay, who made this decision, this lifelong decision to have this child with this sex offender, to marry this sex offender, and the mother who was willing to give her DNA to this fat fuck. And where is she? And did she know what she was doing, what she was really signing up for? That's all I got to say about it. I can't look at it anymore. I can't. I feel like people that violate children deserve to have a big heavy rock hung around their neck and throw them into the Mariana Trench for all I care. Throw them in the sea and let them just put some real tight chains around them with some weights. Because to me, sexual abusers are worse than murderers, because they're literally killing the souls of innocent children when they abuse those children. Like, they tarnish their souls forever. They kill, they murder, brutally murder those children's inner souls. That's how I feel about it. And I've, always felt that way. Never been shy to say it. Oh, yes, I did peep that. Oh, yes. It is weird. And then, you got this going on. And then you've got, people in certain organizations, organized organizations like cartel organizations, that are literally making billions on human trafficking They're trafficking men and women for sex, for organs. You guys think those movies like Hostel are just movies? Nah, man, that stuff is really happening. And then when you do put content out like that, like when you make 2, 3, 4 movies, then it gets people to thinking. And then the dark web shows up. And then you got the Thai red rooms where people are being tortured and killed for real for a price. There are so many reasons why human trafficking takes place in this country, man. And all over the world. Watch your babies. Make sure you know what your babies are doing on the internet, because a lot of these human traffickers and these sex offenders that are getting access to these children are getting access to these children through internet apps on these phones and these iPads. Monitor what your children are doing. And that's all I got to say about it. I'll be over at Interloper Nation 2 here momentarily. If you give me a moment, I'll drop a link for those that may want to come over to Interloper Nation 2 so I can. I just want to laugh a little bit at that. Hold on. Is it a real doctrine? Drags his queenie Ms. Troutmouth. Oh yeah, he done talked about this lady's teeth and everything. I got the screen recording, so even if he puts it on private or whatever, I got it. But let me drop the link, because man, when I heard it, I was like, and I ain't listened to it all yet. And so I figured I'd want to listen to the rest of it with you guys. Let me grab the link here. I've created the stream. I'm going to throw the link in the comments. Yes. That is my channel, and the name is perfect for it. There you go, folks. I'll see you over there in about 5 minutes. And then I'll explain a little bit more what I'm talking about. But guys, I appreciate each and every one of you for coming through. I don't care if anybody's feelings is hurt by what I had to say today. I just don't. I have a right to my opinion as a human being, man. And I just want to remind you motherfuckers of that shit. Until next time, folks.
The judgment sentence that you are an asshole. The trial is over. Thank you, everybody.
Let's play a game. You have 10 seconds to take all your stuff and get out of my life. 10, 9, 8.
God bless you, motherfucker.
You're really smart. Like really, really, really smart like I am.